Welcome to the Wickedly Smart Women podcast, featuring stellar conversations with emerging and established wickedly smart women. Thanks for joining us today as we celebrate the wickedly smart women who are committed, care deeply, and have the courage to take action and create change all around the world. Now here's your host, Emerald Greenforest.
Welcome to another episode of the Wickedly Smart Women podcast, where we celebrate wickedly smart women and provide our listeners with a wealth of wisdom, along with immediately actionable steps to be more smarter, spunkier, and successful in their impact and their leadership. This is your host, Emerald Greenforest, and today I welcome my very special guest, Jennie Edwards. Jennie is a photographer, videographer, and author, and helps entrepreneurs share their message to make bigger impact in the world. She teaches how to show up confidently and vulnerably in alignment with their values. Since 2007, Jennie has run a successful business empowering clients to grow their audience, connect authentically, and drive sales. Her key to success is to make every day a celebration by having gratitude, sharing joyful moments, and focusing on what's most important in life. And I have known Jennie since 2014, I think, 13 or 14. We met in you could call it a training academy. We met in a training academy, and we had such a beautiful bond that has grown and been nurtured and expanded to this day. And I most recently saw her as she was playing and having fun and sharing joyful moments at the New Media Summit, spinning beautiful butterfly wings on the dance floor while she's almost ready to have a baby. So I'm so excited because literally she's about 3 days away from her due date, and we luckily were able to get her for today's show. So thanks so much for being here, Jennie. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you, Emerald. My pleasure.
Yeah, well, let's get started, and let me talk to you about being a creative leader, because a lot of the wickedly smart women that I talk to are leaders, but you lead with your creativity. And I'd really love to have you give us a little bit of a backstory about your own creative journey and how you have allowed yourself to not only be epically creative, but also to move into a leadership role with your creativity.
Ooh, I like that question. That's fun. Well, on my creative journey, I remember I always loved art and creating art, even from being a little girl. And I would make these drawings in my notebook. And as I, years later flipped through, I noticed what was really coming up was all the stick people or whatever it was, and they had these big smiles. And it was all about like being joyful, or how can I find joy in, the littlest moments. And I didn't realize that until years later, of course. And I always had this idea of, I want to be an artist. And I remember there was this, when you were growing up, it's like, I want to be a nurse? I want to be a teacher. You want to be all these things. And just what kind of kept sticking was an artist. Like, how do you make money being an artist? I don't want to be a starving artist. And then I found out about some different avenues that I could really use my art, and going into being a fine artist as my major, and learning these different techniques and starting to intern with different artists and finding out, oh, wow, I could be a graphic designer. That's a possibility. That's something that's needed in the world. I could be a photographer, and the different avenues. But then taking on the leadership, it's funny that you mentioned the training academy that we did, because looking at leadership from a different perspective, looking at leadership on how can I inspire others to really celebrate their mission, to take their mission to the next level, and to use my artistic creative gifts to elevate them.
Yeah, I love that. Well, there are so many different forms of leadership, and, wickedly smart women can show up in many of those roles, but the most important thing I think about you is that you're the kind of leader that really talks your walk and walks your talk. You embody joyfulness. You embody lightness of being. You embody artistry and creativity. And so I'd love to have you give our listeners maybe some bits and pieces of your own journey of coming into embodiment of that, because we can look at the stick figures that are all smiling and say, oh, joy is part of where I want to be and how I want to be. But we also have to make a choice to consistently embody that, to consistently show up in that way. And that's something that you exemplify, in my opinion. But I'm guessing that it wasn't, maybe always, I don't know, maybe it was always that way.
It wasn't always this way. No. No, in fact, I was thinking about my journey because I started off, I went to art school, and then I started off doing graphic design. And when I moved to San Diego, well, first of all, I grew up in the Midwest, and I was part of this, I worked in this corporate office. I wasn't using my degree. I wasn't feeling fulfilled by creating anything. I was like totally, okay, I need to come up with my plan B. And I had been working hard to make connections in the marketing department. I worked for this retail company, and I was taking client complaint calls all day long in a call center. It was not me being my best self.
Yeah, total drag.
Total drag. Yep. And they had this massive layoff, and I was devastated, of course, but it was probably the best thing that happened to me, because it got me out of that call center, and it gave me this decision to make. What should I do next? I was living in Ohio. There was nothing tying me there. And I decided to take this leap of faith. And I decided to pack up all my stuff and put it in storage, pack up my car, and I drove 3,000 miles across country by myself in the middle of winter, where some of the freeways were closed down to one lane, and it was horrific conditions. But it was this beautiful experience because it allowed me to really expand my comfort zone, really tap into my independence, and come from the heart. Like, who am I choosing to be? I want to choose my best life. And I want to take this opportunity to expand and grow and do what I was meant to do. And that was 14 years ago that I took that leap of faith and moved to San Diego.
Wow.
What a big journey.
Beautiful. I love that. Well, so what I'm hearing there is that you did have a divine intervention, right? The divine intervention of losing your job, but you also had the inklings that things were not right, that things were not really the way they needed to be. And it's interesting because my original career, I was in the real estate business, and initially I was managing properties, and I was on the back end of all the complaint calls as well. You know what I mean? And it can be a real drag to be in that situation, especially if you have creative tendencies. So I want to also indicate to our listeners that one of the things you had to do was make a decision, and you had to take that chance and to take that risk. And as a result, you created a beautiful experience for yourself. So part of leadership is being able to discern and to make decisions. So I'd love to have you talk about, your own discernment and your own, how you kind of foster and grow your ability to discern and then make those decisions that maybe seem risky, but at some core level, you, through your discernment, know that that's the choice you have to make. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. I think as the evolution of Jennie has taken on new forms over the years, I kind of started doing, because I felt like I've always been independent. I grew up an only child, and I had, a lot of time spent, coming up with my own imaginative creativeness and making decisions, from those early days, even could start off with just a list of pros and cons, and looking at pros and cons, and then sleeping on it. And then as I, got older, like learning more about my intuition. And sometimes for me, it's just best to, especially if I'm weighed down with a big decision, not only sleeping on it, but getting into nature and just having the stillness to quiet my mind, maybe doing meditation, and really allowing the right words and feelings to come to me while being grounded, getting out of my head, into my body, and staying grounded. That really helps me as far as the decision making on, especially for large scale, life-changing decisions that I have to make.
Beautiful. I love that. So you create that sacred space for the clarity to come through. And ladies, just listen here, because nature is, one of my go-tos as well. Being able to cultivate stillness actually allows you to more precisely dial in your discernment and make more accurate decisions that are in service to yourself. So let's talk now, Jennie, about valuing your own vision, because, the decision is first, but the decision generally comes from having some kind of vision. And then the decision becomes, let's keep moving towards that vision. Let's keep feeding that vision with my personal power, my life force, my money, my time, my energy, my attention. So can you talk about either your visioning process, like how you receive vision and know when it's time to make a change or know when it's time to create something new, and then what you do to really help yourself be willing to devote and value your vision?
That's good. I'm in constant state of being a lifelong learner. And so I'm always learning and integrating different personal development, reading books and going to workshops and training experiences. And that really allows me to get a lot of clarity about what my vision is, what my big picture, what my BHAG is. And I also do this really great training course every couple years called Sorcery, which is about strategic manifestation of your goals and dreams. And it's a really amazing experience too, because you get not just doing a vision board, like sometimes we do, and that it gets stuck away and behind in a closet or something, but to really take on a deep connection and alignment with each of those aspects of my vision. And so, it can come to like, why is that vision important to me? Why is that goal? When does that goal gonna manifest? And I'm a magnificent manifester. I have manifested some incredible things in my life, including like my house, my husband, my daughter, baby 2 on the way. And I just have so much confidence and joy by being able to connect. When you mentioned values, that is a huge part of it, because having clarity of what my values are, to know when is the right time to make that change, to shift, to understand, I don't want to live in mediocrity. I want to choose my best life and surround myself with excellence.
I love that. Well, that's going to be a pearl of wisdom for our listeners right there. I don't want to live in mediocrity. Beautiful. We are already at the break. And when we come back, we're going to talk more about how folks can work with you and get in touch with you. But right now, Wickedly Smart Women, we need your help. So if you are enjoying this show and want us to stay on the air, please consider making a donation at www.wickedlysmartwomen.com. We'd also like to ask you to share with your lovely lady friends who you think might benefit from our content. I also want to say a big thank you to all of our listeners who are downloading, rating, and reviewing. We're welcoming thousands of downloads from all over the world. We are now up to 19 countries. And today the shout out is going to our latest country that just came on board, New Zealand. So shout out to our listeners in New Zealand. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will be right back with Jennie Edwards.
The Wickedly Smart Women podcast is brought to you by the Creative Age Consulting Group. Women, are you ready for a big revenue breakthrough so you can stop working like a man and being paid like a woman? Are you ready to take the leap and go deep to claim your value and convert your wisdom to wealth? Is now the time to fulfill your mission and change the world? Creative Age Consulting Group is hired by women just like you who want to break through to their brilliance and be heard by millions while building a sustainable business model that makes bank. Please visit apply.wealthylifemethod.com to apply for an invitation-only consultation. If you have been inspired to receive support in welcoming wealth by making your most heartfelt contribution to the world, be sure to apply for a consultation today. Once again, that is apply.wealthylifemethod.com or click in the link in the show notes to access the application.
And we are back with Jennie Edwards. You can find out more about Jennie and also claim your complimentary inspiration session with her at yourdynamicstory.com/schedule. And we will put that in the show notes for you. So Jennie, tell our listeners a little bit about what it is like to work with you and what will happen for them in this complimentary inspiration session.
Thank you, Emerald. Well, during our 30-minute Zoom call inspiration session, you will feel a lot more clarity about what you're sharing, if you're doing social media marketing, video marketing, or how you're getting your message out there. Knowing what to say and how to say it that's in alignment with your values, as well as how you want to reach your prospective clients, utilizing storytelling and vulnerability to build trust and connection and credibility that really drives people to want to hire you and work with you and make a bigger difference in the world.
Beautiful. Well, I totally encourage people who are interested and feel resonant with Jennie to go to that link, yourdynamicstory.com/schedule, and claim your inspiration session. That should be awesome and fun. You know, I think it's really, really important to have multiple points of view that are sometimes a little bit maybe outside of your comfort zone when you are stepping into a business or when you are looking to expand and grow your business. It's to have, especially to have a creative mind on your business and eyes on your business is really powerful. It can be a powerful perturbation that creates profit.
So that.
Yeah. So Jennie, let's talk about creativity because I mean, I really see you as somebody who I might even call hyper creative. I call myself hyper creative. So, and what I notice about hyper creatives is sometimes we can spread ourselves too thin in too many different directions. So can you talk about how you practice channeling your creativity so that you're staying in flow creatively, but also so that there's enough structure there that you are generating sufficient cash flow to keep your business sustainable?
Well, yeah, balance is a key word for sure. And I think sometimes it starts with scheduling playtime because you have to have some way, some outlet, a creative outlet that you're doing no matter what industry you're in so that you can tap into that creative spirit. And, maybe it's just scheduling some quality time with the people that you love, but doing something like dancing or ecstatic dance is one of my favorites. Doing something where you get out of your head and into your body. And that can allow, or taking some kind of a painting, those art wine nights and going out and painting and just, seeing what happens and playing. And and not putting a lot of pressure on yourself to be perfect, but to be in the flow, like you mentioned, and letting go of expectations during that time, being present in the moment. And then also by having the productivity time is really key for me. Having accountability, whether you're in a coaching program or have an accountability partner, simply to show up with, these are my 3 main goals for the week. And, maybe one of them just has to do with creativity or something that's outside the box. That's you expanding your comfort zone.
Beautiful. I
But
love
having
that.
having a structure and reminders in your calendar, it really helps me.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I love the invitation to schedule playtime. I think that's really important. I actually have a cuddle party scheduled for Saturday night for myself. And, I totally agree that being in your physical body is a powerful and important aspect of being able to channel your creativity and have those moments of inspiration and brilliance. So awesome. All right. Well, let me see what else I want to ask you here. I really would love to talk a little bit more about how people can work with you. Are they working with you in a coaching kind of format? Do you have a specific program that you offer? Or is it like a project-based body of work when people come to work with you?
Yeah, I have a couple different opportunities. I do have a group coaching mentoring program, and that is called Activate Your Awesomeness. And it actually has to do with a lot of the things that we've been chatting about with productivity and being your best self and looking at the goals and the visioning from a different perspective so that you can really choose your best life and, feel like your most revitalized self. And then I also have some opportunities to work with entrepreneurs about their hero's journey story and what aspects of their story are they sharing. So knowing what to say and how to say it so it can really land with the values in alignment with the messaging that you're creating, putting out there to make a bigger difference in the world.
Beautiful. I love that. Well, I want to also bring to the table that you have been in business since 2007. So congratulations on 12 years in successful business. Can you talk to our listeners a little bit about your relationship with money? Because, money is the lifeblood of a business. So yes, the creativity has to be there. Yes, the marketing has to be there. Yes, the good offers have to be there. And you can have all of those things. And if you're not making sales and you're not generating money, you don't have a business, you have a hobby. So can you talk about your relationship with money and maybe how it has evolved over the last 12 years in your business?
Yeah, absolutely. I think as far as the evolution, a big part of it has been the self-worth. I remember when I was starting out, when I took the leap of faith to leave my corporate job and then start this whole other avenue. And I remember having this voice, as I would put out, here's my hourly rate, poof, and putting that out there to the world to start generating some income. And the voice would be like, oh, that's a ridiculously high number. How is somebody going to pay for that? And blah, 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 blah. And then as I started having to train myself to converse with the voice, like, I am worth this. I have trained for this. I have a great portfolio, and kind of shushing that voice. And noticing how, as the more training and the more business development courses and things that I was doing, to realize that, like, I love money. I'm in love with money. It is something that creates abundance because it's all about abundance, right? Abundance of the time that I get to spend with my family, the people that I love the most. Abundance of experience that I get to create because of this abundance I'm magnetizing this, right? The right people that come into my life that I can help in the ways that they have, problems that I can solve. And how I've shifted my perspective about money as, this I'm not worthy kind of thing to it's actually just a number. When you when you think about it, like you don't even see, it's not like piles of cash that come to your doorstep, but you see like a number on your bank statement, right?
Right.
So the amount that you can charge, and you can share the benefits of why you are worth charging that amount, is just a mindset.
Beautiful. I love that. Well, and it's true. Money right now. It used to be, we had paper and coins and things like that. And now money is really zeros and ones on computer chips somewhere in some cloud. It's not even really tangible for the most part. So I love that. And I love that you have had an evolution. And the most important piece I want to just highlight out of that is that you actually had an adversarial or advocacy. You advocated for yourself and your own worth and the value and what you were charging with your own inner critic. Like you created this inner advocate to have the debate with the inner critic, and ultimately silenced that critic. So good on you. That's beautiful. I love.
Another thing I wanted to mention, Emerald, is that I really utilize affirmations a lot in my daily life. And I recently added a couple that I've been saying every day. And it was based on this Facebook Live that I watched, and it was all about like self-worth. And one of them is, I can afford that. Like, I create money because I do. I create, every day, depending on what it is that I'm putting out there, I create money. It's my responsibility, and it's also my gift.
It's your joy. It's your joy.
Yeah. I can create this. Like, hey, if I know it's time that I need to, I really have this opportunity that comes across my plate, and like, oh, maybe the old me would be like, oh, that's so expensive. I can't afford that. Oh. And then now to being able to be powerful enough to shift into that experience and that perspective, like I create the money that gives me this opportunity.
Nice. I love that. I love that affirmation. Well, it's interesting because I'm working with a new affirmation myself, and it's, I am kind to myself. I am kind to myself. And in being kind to myself, I will take on, I create money as well. I love that. I love that. Beautiful, Jennie. Well, we're already at the end, so we're going to have to say goodbye, unfortunately, but definitely, listeners, go ahead and get more information and sign yourself up for an inspiration session with Jennie at yourdynamicstory.com/schedule. Again, we'll have that in the show notes. And I wanted to share with you, not only do I create money and I can afford that and I am kind to myself, but I have created something for you listeners. I have a brand new quiz called the Wealth Readiness Quiz. So if you're interested in checking into seeing if you are ready for wealth or what level you're at in your wealth readiness, go to quiz.wealthylifementor.com and take the quiz. We would love to have you do that. And also, listeners, we love feedback. So please let us know what you thought of today's show by calling into our listener line at 540-402-0043, extension 4343, or send in questions or guest suggestions to listeners at wickedlysmartwomen.com. We might even give you a shout out on the show. Thanks for tuning in. Keep your ears open, and remember, you are a wonderful woman.
Thanks for tuning in, downloading, and listening. Be sure to review and rate Wickedly Smart Women on Apple Podcasts and share with other women who can benefit from today's episode. Wickedly Smart Women is the premier podcast series for informing, activating, and inspiring the leader who carries profound wisdom and knows that now is the time to welcome wealth. We welcome your feedback and guest suggestions and invite you to subscribe to our mailing list to be notified of each episode at wickedlysmartwomen.com.